according to previous lesson, we were learning monopoly, monopolistic competition, and as well as oligopoly. And today we are going to dive deeper into this factors. We were also studying this factors market of labor and the resources, as well as their structure. So let's begin. Today we are going to talk about monopsony power and monopoly power in factors market. So what is monopoly power? Could you give some definitions, please? What was market power, monopoly power, and then monopsony power? These terms are quite like each other, similar to each other. So, monopoly power or market power is related to price, right? Is that it? Yani Karabakçı tanımında market power değil, pazar hakimiyeti değil. Monopsony power değil, monopsony hakimiyeti, monopoly hakimiyeti değil. Pazar hakimiyeti dediğimiz nedir? Pazar hakimiyeti dediğimiz bakanın değeri değil. If you have some market power, that means that you will be able to influence or affect the price. So monopsony power is being able to affect the price from the viewpoint of buyer. Monopoly power is being able to affect the price from the stance of monopolistic company, right? So these terms are really similar in the market of factors. So being monopsony power is like being the ability of a buyer to influence the price of the input factors. So for example, we have big companies like IBM or GM or other producers like Tesla, for example. They are quite big, large companies. They not to produce a large, not to manufacture a large number of vehicles or cars. They have to buy components, right? In this situation, they become a buyer, not a seller. In this instance, they become a buyer. Yani yollarda bu kampanyalar satışçılar negizde düşünseniz, IBM, mesela GM'de gibi mesela negiz satışçılar resurslar vakil etmiyorsa, üniversite faktörler vakil etmiyorsa, o da yıllarda satış alış kaynağı. Yani so as they require a large number of components, they have some monopsony power. They decide, they affect, they have a really big impact on the price. Yeah. So for example, GM may make a purchase of brakes in large quantities or tires, and IBM may buy some semiconductors. So in this lesson, we are going to focus more closely at the market structure with only one buyer. In our case, it will be considered as monopsony. So in case of competitive market, yeah, in this graph. As you see, here, no, not this one, but this one, the first one. So this is the curve of marginal expenditure, and this is the supply curve, and this is the demand curve of the labor. So in competitive market, we only have supply and the demand curves, right? Supply curve, which is our average expenditure, is equal to the marginal expenditure in a very perfectly competitive market. So let me explain this. Why? So average. So this is number of workers. So one worker, certain wage is $13, and the overall marginal. No, this one not big, but later. Yeah. The second one, if we hire another worker in a competitive market for the same salary, it will be 26 overall, right? Then, if we divide it by 2, we get the average, which is 13. But in our case, also marginal expenditure is 26 minus 13. So demiş mi? Aldığımızdan onadan non ağamsa, söylemişse kelime ağ böyle diye bırak bize de böyle olandan ki bir ara onun şolşuları. So this is for perfectly competitive market. But for monopsonistic market structure, our marginal expenditure is a bit higher, because in a monopsonistic condition we have to pause our So in this market structure, marginal revenue lies above the average expenditure, because for the additional unit of workers that we hire, we have to pay more amount of salary. For example, in our case, it would look like something like this. For example, $10, 11, 13, let's say. So total, if we have only one worker, then the total amount would be $10, right? But if we have 2 workers, then it means that we have to pay 11 for 2 workers, 22, and 3, 39, right? As you see, that average is not the same, marginal revenue is higher. So this about the example. Yeah. That's it. So in one important point is that in monopsonistic market, in order to hire more unit of worker, we have to increase the amount, increase the salary in order to hire more worker. If we do not do so, it won't work in this market structure. So usually MRP, and so in this example, MRP equals to ME at this point. In a perfectly competitive market, around 5.5 workers should be hired for at around $14. But monopsonistic company has some monopsonic power, so that they decrease the wage rate to $13 and employ only 4 workers. This can be explained by why they work higher this amount. Is that in these conditions, MRP should be equal to marginal expenditure, and this is the point where they intersect. They will be equal. So that's the point for, and here we can have for wage rate. So monopsonic power. In what circumstances do we have monopsonic power? There are different conditions that define monopsonic or provide monopsonistic power. First of all, for example, specific business nature or specific some technology or some business circumstances. For example, only one buyer may be able to. There will be, for example, only one buyer specific component, or business location, where the company is located. That also plays a crucial role in defining the price. Also, agreeing to form a cartel. In our previous lessons, we were mentioning about cartels. Cartels is the collusion of different companies illegally, usually. These cartels usually illegally collude with each other, and then they set the price, and they set the specific price for the worker. So no other companies will hire workers above that specified wage rate. That's how they work. Also, governments or mining factories can also be considered as monopsonistic because armies or military equipment can only be bought by government, right? Because they are the only ones to utilize such things. Or aircraft, for example. Only government buys such expensive equipment or instruments. Case study. So in real world example, I'd like to give U.S. Major League Baseball. This baseball, yani Amerika'da Major League Baseball ligin ne bu anda? Yani sol milli beyzbol milli komandaların üyeleri sonra monopsonial güçlü üye olan. Yani bunu az ayırmıyorsam. Yani so they formed a cartel. They formed a cartel and they included a clause, release clause. Yani yapılan olarak kartel payda edip onların kontraktına release koyucu yani Rus'tan kettiği gönderiyi ben postadan şartlamasına yani bu şartlamanın yeni hatırladım yani beyzbolda Avrupa oyuncular şirki basa komanda olacak olsa bu arada olmayın olsa bu şartlamasının kimliğinden bu komandalar istekleri oynatları gerek olan. So after they had a strike, their salary increased and their salary increased substantially. So monopoly power in factors market. This can be achieved by patents or licenses, as we have mentioned in our previous lessons. So let's move on to the wage rate. Yani bu graf sunduğumuzda yani verildiğinde yani жұмысшының істейтін айлығы yani суммасы ақшасы yani жұмысшы көбінесе wage дегенде salary is the difference between wage and salary. You can tell me. Қандай еді farkı?
Wage деген
объем бар дейді. Salary деген yani white and black collar jobs деген бар. Белый воротничок и черный воротничок деген не бар, білесіз ба? Белый воротничок деген white collar jobs деген офиста жұмыс істеп жүреді. White collar jobs деген мысалы үшін сантехниклар, нелер болуы мүмкін, мысалы кузнец теміршілер болуы мүмкін, олар тек сол істеген жұмыстан сатқан заттарды істейді. And wage деген сол salary емес, salary айлық болады. Wage деген бір объем істеген. We had small technical issue here. Because of this storage run out there. So labor union деген бар еді, labor union деген кәсіптік профсоюз деген бар ғой жерде. Соны сөйтіп айтып қойғаннан кейін қалба шақырылады. Бірақ инглишчесінде labor union деп қойды да. Сол арқылы айтамыз да. Енді сол labor unionның сол қалайынша монополиялық күшке ие екендігі хақында азырақ тоқталып өтсек инглишче түсіндіремін. So let's imagine that this line doesn't exist here, so we only have two curves, GL and this supply and demand curve. And here we have what? Equilibrium point. And here, but as for the labor union, their marginal revenue curve is here. This line represents its labor union's marginal curve. And when the marginal curve equals to the marginal cost, or how to say, supply curve. This point represents what? This point means that L1, this point means that the company will sell their resources, but only at a small amount and at a very high price. Yani ne degan? Bu nuqatda firma monopoliялық күші болған firma өзінің ресурсларын сатады. Азғантай мөлдерде сатады, бірақ жүре көп мөлдерде. Яғни L1 деген біздің кішкентай мен қараған кезде. Yani azғантай сатып, жаңағы жұмысшы сатып жатыр, бірақ жүре көп айнып алып. Енді ол фирманың profit maximization деген бар, ол өндірістік деп алайық. Енді сол жағдайда да алып қарайтын болсақ, so in this condition, in order to maximize their profit, marginal revenue should be equal to zero here. So this point will be represented by L2 and W2, and the total revenue will be then L2 multiplied by W2, and this is the highest revenue that the labor union can generate from selling their labor to the companies which hire or need employees. Yeah. So that's it. That's it from my side. Thank you for your attention.